Saquon Barkley, start or sit? So Saquon Barkley is an interesting guy to be talking about in a start-sit video this week. I assume if he's on your roster, you are most likely plugging him in after waiting through that injury. But what we wanted to do today was go through some running backs that are similarly tiered this week and say whether or not we would start them over Saquon Barkley in Week 11. Jay, the first name I wanted to come to you with was James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Seattle Seahawks this week. Would you start James Conner or Saquon Barkley?
For me, it depends if Kyler Murray plays. If Kyler Murray is in, I would play James Conner. But if he is not, I would go Barkley even with a tough matchup against the Bucs. I just don't trust the way this offense looked last week.
Completely fair. I'm going to go James Conner either way here, whether Kyler is on the field or not. I just have a little bit more trust in how he's going to be used in this offense. We've seen how they're using him with Chase Edmonds out. I expect that to continue. And I have no idea how they're going to use Saquon Barkley in his first week back. Another name this week that is so hot right now after the Aaron Jones injury is AJ Dillon. So, Jay, would you start AJ Dillon at the Minnesota Vikings or would you start Saquon Barkley against Tampa Bay?
They both have fantastic quads. I think I'm going to have to go with AJ Dillon on this one. He's going to get the workload. He's got a great matchup, and yeah, I'm going to go AJ Dillon.
It's AJ Dillon for me as well on this one, Jay. It's a great matchup, and he's going to get the full workload with Aaron Jones out. Not something I'm confident Saquon Barkley is going to get. So let's move a little bit further down the list now. What about Michael Carter going up against the Miami Dolphins this week? So he has been someone who's been considered that fringe RB1, high-end RB2 while Mike White was the quarterback, but we know Joe Flacco's starting this week. So would you start Michael Carter or Saquon Barkley?
I would go Barkley here. We just don't know what type of usage that Carter's going to get with Flacco under center. Like you said, the reason he's had some productive week here recently is he was getting the ball dumped off to him nonstop, and we just don't know if that's going to be the case with Flacco.
Yeah, I'm with you here, Jay. I'm still going Saquon Barkley in this case. The change at quarterback really scares me for Michael Carter. That value came in the receiving work. What about in the same game here, Myles Gaskin of Miami going up against the New York Jets? We know he's got a great matchup. So would you start Myles Gaskin in the plus matchup or Saquon Barkley?
This one is really tough because, like you said, the Jets are an extremely good matchup. They give up the most points to opposing running backs. But with his inconsistency, I would go with Saquon Barkley in this instance. Even with the tough matchup, I do expect the Giants to make him a focal point. So for me, I would go Barkley over Gaskin.
I keep flipping back and forth on this one. These guys
It's
are
tough.
back-to-back in my rankings. And you know what? I think push comes to shove, I'm going to be plugging Myles Gaskin into my lineup. I feel a little bit more safe with that in this plus matchup than I do with Saquon Barkley. Coming back in his first game against Tampa Bay, I just feel like Myles Gaskin is the safer option and has some upside this week, which he doesn't every week. I think we should mention one more name here. So, Jay, the last name I want to bring up is David Montgomery of the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are going up against Baltimore this week. So would you start David Montgomery or Saquon Barkley?
This one, honestly, is probably the easiest for me. I think I'd go David Montgomery. Like we've talked about before, the Ravens defense hasn't really played that good this year. It's not that bad of a matchup. And David Montgomery, before he went down with injury, was looking good. So, yeah, I think I'd go with him.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you here. It's David Montgomery for me, all the reasons you stated. But hopefully comparing them to some of these players in this tiers gave you a better idea of the type of players that you could start over Saquon Barkley this week if you are a bit nervous. But I know, fingers crossed, we're hoping for him to just come back and play like we know he can.
Make sure you like the video and subscribe to Front Yard Fantasy on YouTube.